Welcome back to another Reddit video. In today's video, we get some entitled moms who don't understand social cues. Our first post is by Anonymous Dork. Bio dad finally pays child support after not paying almost my whole life. My mom and I are dying of laughter. So my 19 female mom and bio dad divorced when I was 5. Due to our state's crappy family court system, my bio dad only had to pay $125 a month for child support, which was a load of bull. He made a lot of money with his tattoo shop, but he spent that money on drugs and women, while my mom had to make cheap casseroles in order to feed me, as a baby, and my older half-brother, who was 14, while she was a stay-at-home mom. My mom found out about the money when my grandma, who was an accountant, got asked to look at his financial records. When my grandma found out what happened to that money and saw how much my mom struggled to give us kids basic living necessities, that made her livid. My grandma begged my mom to leave my bio dad, but she wouldn't follow that advice until 5 years later. When the divorce finally happened, the custody battle was an absolute shit show. The judge was a witch, since even though my bio dad tested positive for every illegal drug except weed, plus testimonies on how violent and how crappy person he was, I still had to visit him every other weekend. Which stopped when I was 14. After a bunch of abandonment and verbal abuse, I cut contact with him when I was 17. To make things even more crappy, he only paid when my second stepmom, Sherry, made him, as she was divorced with kids too and knew it was important. My first stepmom never understood what child support really was, Lamau. After the divorce, my mom struggled hard. From couch surfing till my grandma bought us a house, to using food stamps to feed me, and finally building up her teacher career, we finally live a comfortable life. We aren't wealthy by any means, but we live comfortably. Well, recently, as of last month, my bio dad has suddenly paid $200. And 2 weeks ago, he paid another $200 to my mom randomly. The only reason my mom and I think he would be paying now was he may be going to jail again. Which says a lot since I'm in college right now. My mom and I are laughing our asses off and even got us a small spa day since the money basically is nothing right now. Oh well, he only has $9,186.96 to go, Lamau. Down in the comments, Legal Bagel adds, my ex lost his license, which then meant he would constantly cancel his scheduled visitations. He never paid me a cent. He died last year owing me over $10K, even though he only had to pay $197 a month. 6 months after he died, I applied for Social Security benefits for my minor son. In 3 months, I received back pay of his benefits of about $7K, and now I get about $750 a month in child support for my son. Our next post is by Intrepid Pudding. Cousin abandoned my niece at my house while I was camping. Over the week, my husband and I went on a camping trip before summer season with its glorious warm weather was officially over. We weren't at home and had no cell reception where we were. We left Thursday, September 7th, and returned on Monday, September 11th. While we were away, my cousin left my niece still strapped to her car seat outside my house door on Friday, September 8th, and sent me some text messages. Remember, I had no cell reception where I was camping. I would never have known while I was gone. I saw the missed messages after I returned home. It wasn't a request to ask if I could help her. It was simply messaging notifying me that she left my niece in front of my door along with a bag with her stuff for the weekend. She did not ask me beforehand if I could help her babysit. There was no possible way for me to know. Even if I knew, I would have still declined unless it was a medical emergency in the family and they had no other choice. I live in a rural area where everyone is on 30-acre plots of land, so no one knew my niece was there. I had no clue. The neighbors had no clue. My niece was literally abandoned in front of my door until Saturday noon when my parents came by to drop off my parcels that were delivered to their house. That's when they saw my niece. My parents called my aunt and had her come pick her up. I can only assume that my parents, my aunt, and my grandmother scolded my cousin for leaving my niece at the door. When I got home, all I saw was the initial text message telling me that my niece was dropped off at my place. Then a string of very rude text messages and voice messages from my cousin calling me irresponsible for leaving my niece outside and endangering her. Because what if the coyotes in my area attacked the helpless infant? I'm just so frustrated. Down in the comments, Kitty McMow says, Neglect is full-on child abuse. It's an unfortunately common form of it, with varying intensity from mild to severe. This situation is so infuriating, so sad. The poor child was sitting cold, hungry, and uncomfortable, strapped in the car seat in a soiled diaper. Not to mention the dangers of the elements and being on the porch, outside of the mercy of the elements and the animals. They should definitely report the cousin to the authorities. What else is going on in that household? Never have I ever left a child without seeing the adult whose care I left them in. This incubator didn't even wait for a response to a text. So upsetting. They're so lucky nothing of any lasting damage happened to her. Oh, I'd hate to have to face the judge's questions if I had done this. I appreciate the comment of calling this cousin an incubator because after this story, they're definitely not a mother. That is not a mother. That child should be taken away from this creature immediately. The police need to be called. Give me a sec. Okay, I did some digging and the police were called and it seems like nothing's happening. She still has the kid. I There's no justice in this world. For the baby though, when the parents found the kid, they took her immediately to the hospital. She was a little dehydrated and she was, soiled, but she's okay, relatively, even though she's in the hands of a fucking psychopath. Our next post is by Fit Broccoli. Entitled Mom doesn't know how triage works. I work at a pediatric emergency room. I encountered lots of entitled parents, but this mom from last night almost made me lose my shit. She had taken her son in because he had an unusual rash on his arm. She was very distressed the entire night and often came up to ask me how long they would have to keep waiting. I said there weren't enough rooms for everyone to be seen quickly and apologized for the long wait. Maybe 2 hours after they had come in, a teenage girl had been taken in by her father. He had to carry her because she was losing consciousness, felt extremely cold, and was delirious. Obviously, she had to be seen immediately because we suspected she was septic. Patient quickly got moved to the PICU, and a wait time for this patient would likely mean death. The mom accused me of lying that there weren't enough rooms because this girl had gotten a room instantly. I wish people understood that we need to prioritize who gets seen first. Down in the comments, everyone's talking about priorities and stuff, so people do understand. They also point out that she's just only thinking of her kid and her kid comes first. It's understandable, but like someone is literally dying. I Not even looking up the word septic, I know it's bad if it's applied to a human being. That girl coming in with those symptoms, losing consciousness, being cold, that she needs to be seen immediately. I gladly wait. It is a rash. Sure, some rashes can be a symptom of something else, but it's a rash. This girl is literally not even here right now. Our next post is by Eggs and Bacon. Entitled Mom takes over our family camping trip. My family and I go every year on a camping trip a few towns over. There's always a big event going on when we go, so it's usually a big party environment. Because of this, my dad tries to invite family friends to go as well. This year, he invited his friend T and his wife, Entitled Mom. We've had some bad experiences with Entitled Mom in the past, especially since she enjoys inviting people to gatherings she isn't supposed to. When we arrived at our campsites, Entitled Mom had also insisted on bringing her nephew. My mom remarked that she didn't know he was coming, and Entitled Mom simply shrugged and said she didn't want him to spend the weekend alone, which would be understandable, but he's a 22-year-old man with a pregnant girlfriend, so he most likely wouldn't have been alone. We didn't care much. He brought his own tent, and he was a nice guy, so it wasn't too intrusive for us. As we got settled in, Entitled Mom walked into our camper where I was sitting alone. She looked around and began to question me about it. Things like, it must be nice to have a camper all to yourselves, and if your dad got a rented camper, why you guys making him sleep in a tent? First of all, we were allowing everyone to come in, hang out, and use the kitchen and the bathroom if they wanted. We just didn't allow people into the bedroom because that's where my mom kept our luggage. Second, my dad wanted to sleep in a tent. The bathrooms in the park are filthy, and it can get incredibly hot, and I'm prone to fainting in high temperatures, so I need somewhere to stay cool. That's the only reason he rented the trailer for me and my mom. I explained this to her, and she simply nodded and left. My mom later found her making a phone call to one of her friends, stating that there was a fun camping party going on and her husband should come. Of course, this was without permission. While we ate dinner, Entitled Mom happily announced to everyone that her daughter, Dee, would be coming to join us the next day. And, you guessed it, we didn't tell her she could invite anyone. Side note, Entitled Mom's reasoning for inviting Dee was so she and my family could make up for her not having a graduation party. She needed to have it because Entitled Mom was insistent it must take place at our house, but it would be inconvenient for us, so we told her no. The next morning, we walked outside and see Entitled Mom's son, TJ. At this point, my mom is super annoyed with Entitled Mom. That wasn't helped by Entitled Mom cooking food that we had brought and telling my mom she didn't know what she was doing so she couldn't help her cook. These weren't small meals either. She spent all day cooking a huge meal of her own accord and then complaining that she hadn't gotten any help. Finally, nighttime rolled around and Entitled Mom told her kids that they wouldn't be driving home in the dark, so we should make them beds in the camper. Me and my mom were losing our minds at this point, but still, we tried to remain civil. I pulled out the couch onto a bed, and my mom started to try and figure out how to turn the dining room into a bed as well. Entitled Mom helped my mom lift the table up before stopping to look and see how it may turn into a bed while holding it up with one hand and leaving my bad-backed mother to bear the majority of the weight. I tried to help, but Entitled Mom was in the way and yelling at me that she had it. After a few minutes, Entitled Mom came to the conclusion that, no, the dining table doesn't turn into a bed. Entitled Mom let go of the table and angrily pushed it back down while my mom was holding it. "This is ridiculous. My daughter shouldn't have to sleep in her car. Next time you need to have better accommodations." Oh my god. She also implied that because her son was so much bigger, we should give up our bed for him. We just said no way. We didn't even know her kids were coming. It mostly stops there, but Entitled Mom is completely insane, so I'll most likely post about her again. Update: to everyone calling me and my mom pushovers, my dad is a narcissistic drunk who likes his friends and his appearance more than us. He really likes Entitled Mom and has referred to her as an angel to our family. If me and my mom had told her off, my dad wouldn't back us up, and 6 against 2 is a slippery slope. We didn't allow her back in the camper after the bed incident. The only reason we went was because we weren't going to let Entitled Mom take our family trip away from us. She ended up doing so, and we aren't doing anything that she's involved in anymore. Yeah, no, this woman sounds like an absolute nightmare. And your dad's just crappy. He doesn't have your back, he doesn't have your mom's back, and he's honestly, I would personally look into this dad and Entitled Mom relationship. I'm not saying anything, it's just if he cares more about her than you two, I would be suspicious. Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in to another Reddit video. If you would like to, click another video. And if you would be so kind as to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.